Imagine building something from nothing. No investors, no roadmap, no guarantee of success. Just an idea, and the belief that it could change the world. You start in a small garage. You work late nights. You fail again and again. But you don't stop. And slowly, something begins to take shape. A small invention becomes a company. A company becomes a revolution. But what if, after building everything, you lose it all? What if the company you created no longer belongs to you? This is not just a story about technology. This is a story about ambition, rejection, innovation, and one of the greatest comebacks in business history. This is the rise of Apple. In 1976, the world of computers was very different. Computers were not personal. They were massive machines. They filled entire rooms. They were expensive, slow, and complex. Only governments, universities, and large corporations could afford them. For normal people, computers were something distant, almost impossible to reach. But two young men saw a different future. Steve Jobs was not an engineer. He was a visionary. Someone who believed technology should feel human. He believed computers should be simple, beautiful, intuitive, personal. And his friend, Steve Wozniak, was a genius engineer who could turn imagination into reality. Together, they decided to build something no one had done before, a personal computer for everyday people. They started in a small garage in California. No office, no investors, no employees. Just tools, wires, and relentless determination. They even sacrificed personal belongings to fund their dream. A Volkswagen van was sold. A calculator was sold. Every small resource was turned into fuel for innovation. And from that sacrifice, a revolution slowly began. Their first creation was Apple I. It was basic, hand-built, limited, but it worked. And more importantly, it proved an idea. Computers could belong to individuals. But the real breakthrough came with Apple II, and this changed everything. For the first time, personal computers became practical. Schools began using them. Homes began buying them. Businesses began experimenting with them. Computing was no longer a luxury for corporations. It was becoming part of everyday life. Apple grew rapidly, faster than anyone expected. Investors noticed. The tech world started paying attention. A garage experiment was becoming a serious company. But success always brings pressure, and pressure brings conflict. Inside Apple, things began to shift. As the company expanded, different visions emerged. Some wanted strict control. Some wanted faster innovation. Some wanted structure and discipline. And slowly, disagreements began to grow. The unity that once built Apple started breaking apart. Still, the company pushed forward. In 1984, Apple introduced one of its most iconic products, the Macintosh. It was revolutionary. It introduced a graphical user interface and a mouse. For the first time, computers were no longer just text-based machines. They became visual, interactive, human-like. It changed how people thought about technology forever. But behind the scenes, tension was rising. And slowly, the person who created the company began losing influence. In 1985, everything collapsed. Steve Jobs was removed from Apple. The company he built pushed him out. Think about that for a moment. You create something from nothing. You dedicate your entire life to it. You shape its identity, its direction, its soul. And then one day, you are told you no longer belong. It was not just a business decision. It was emotional, personal, earth-shattering. Jobs left Apple, and with him went the original creative spirit of the company. After his departure, Apple continued. New leadership took control. New products were launched. New strategies were attempted. But something was missing: direction. Apple started producing too many products, too many versions, too many confusing choices. The identity became unclear. The focus was gone. Meanwhile, competition was growing stronger every day. Companies like Microsoft dominated the personal computing world. Apple, once the leader of innovation, was now struggling to stay relevant. Sales declined. Confidence dropped. The company started losing its edge. And slowly, people began asking the question, will Apple survive? But while Apple was struggling, Steve Jobs was not finished. He founded a new company called Next, a company focused on advanced computing systems and software design. He also invested in Pixar, which would later revolutionize animation and storytelling. Even after being forced out of his own creation, he never stopped building. He never stopped innovating. He never stopped believing. And slowly, time began to shift again. Years later, Apple made a decision that changed everything. It acquired Next, and with that acquisition, Steve Jobs returned to Apple. But this time, he was different. Older, more experienced, sharper, more focused. He was no longer just a founder. He was a leader with experience, failure, and vision, and he came back with one mission: save Apple. His first move was not loud. It was simple, but extremely powerful. He simplified everything. Apple had too many products, too many directions, too much confusion. Jobs made a bold decision: focus on a few great products instead of many average ones. This shocked employees. It shocked the industry, but it worked. Slowly, Apple began to regain clarity. It began to find its identity again. It was colorful, bold, different. At a time when computers were boring and beige, the iMac stood out. It wasn't just a computer, it was a statement. Apple was back. Then came the iPod, a small device that changed music forever. Thousands of songs in your pocket. No CDs, no restrictions, no limitations. Music became digital, portable, personal. Apple was no longer recovering. It was transforming entire industries. But the biggest transformation was still ahead. In 2007, everything changed forever. Apple launched the iPhone. It was not just a phone. It was a camera, a music player, a computer, a communication device, a touchscreen revolution. It removed physical keyboards. It introduced multi-touch interaction, and it completely changed human behavior. The world had never seen anything like it. From that moment, the smartphone era began. Every competitor had to adapt. Every industry had to evolve. Apple was leading the revolution. Then came the App Store, a platform that allowed developers around the world to build applications for millions of users. Then came the iPad. Then MacBooks became faster, thinner, and more powerful. Apple was no longer just a product company. It had become an ecosystem, a connected world of devices, software, and services. And that ecosystem made Apple one of the most powerful companies in the world. Today, Apple stands as a global giant, a company worth billions, used by hundreds of millions. But its story is not just about success. It is about failure. It is about rejection. It is about being pushed out. And it is about coming back stronger than ever before. Because sometimes, losing everything is the only way to build something greater. Apple did not become powerful because it avoided failure. Apple became powerful because it refused to stop after failing. And thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe our channel Void Files for such amazing content. Thank you.